From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and Akashvani, this is Stumped.
Hello and welcome to Stumped, your intercontinental hit of news, features and debate from the quirky world of cricket. I'm Alison Mitchell in Sydney, with a bit of time now to reflect on 2 months of men's Ashes Test match cricket. It's all come to a close. Jim, it's been lovely to share your country with you, but I'll be heading home in just a few days' time.
And you won't have the urn. Well, you will actually at Lord's. The less tactile version, perhaps that Wedgwood thing, is hanging around in Australia. And you'd have to say, it's a bit corny, I know, Australia earned their victory.
Congratulations, Jim. Charu Sharma for Akashvani. I'm back in Bangalore, but only just this morning to change my bags to do Stumped, literally, and then pack my bags again and get to Pune for another major charity golf event done by a former pro and a close friend of mine, Rajiv Datar. But no free golf for me, though, because it's followed by an auction where my services, I suppose, are going to be roped in.
Well, coming up this week on Stumped, we'll be discussing the return of the Women's Premier League. But first, the 2025-26 Ashes has come to an end with Australia comprehensively winning the series 4-1 down under. The Ashes were retained in the first 11 days, Australia going 3-0 up before England's consolation win in Melbourne. And the Aussies then winning by 5 wickets at the SCG, chasing 160 to win in the final match. So how will both sides be feeling after the series, and what could both teams look like in the future? Well, with us is former Australia opener and commentator Matthew Hayden. I've been sharing a commentary box with him throughout the summer as well at the Ashes. Welcome to Stumped. To what extent, Haydos, has the series lived up to the hype or not, in your opinion?
Hype, yes. Performances from maybe both teams, actually. I'm not 100% Australia were playing at full throttle. I'd give them maybe a 70% rating, but England were maybe 30%. I mean, Robert Key mentioned the word 20% I was reading. I think that may be a bit harsh, but 20%, 30%, whatever that figure was, it was certainly below par. It is high stakes. Careers are made and they are also defeated in and around the Ashes. So, look, it was certainly an entertaining series that was full of drama. So the expectations were certainly met.
You know all about multiple Ashes wins. I want to talk to you, about the future of both teams in a second. But first of all, Joe Root, because he saved us all from seeing you walk naked around the MCG. That was your promise at the start of the series, wasn't it? If Root failed to score 100, but he not only got one, he doubled down the 160 in Sydney to follow that 138 in Brisbane. So, how good a player is he? And also, how relieved are you to keep your clothes on?
Well, I mean, it's hard to keep your clothes on during the Australian summer because it's so darn hot, as you guys know. But it was a bit of a no-brainer. And look, whilst it was a tongue-in-cheek kind of comment that we did on our own podcast, it was just all class from Root. I mean, he Smith, they really kind of epitomise modern Test cricket. So they have the improvisation, they do have gears, but they've got the one skill that Bethel was able to show as well. They cut, they pull, they play down the ground. They are able to absorb pressure and build pressure on opposition because they occupy the crease for a large period of time because their temperament allows them to do it. I would imagine in the wash-up to this series, someone like Harry Brook would go, gosh, I was several times in a position to be able to score Test match hundreds on reasonably good batting conditions, especially in at least two of the 3 Test matches. But I failed to do so because I wasn't able to keep my wicket in hand and the old adage of being able to just occupy the crease. That wasn't an expansive, tight game to be played. And young Bethel showed us that beautifully in Sydney, I thought. And when you think about the future, Ali, they'll be looking for those kind of players that have an aptitude to playing Test match cricket, to playing the longer formats of the game. So often we get confused with the shorter formats of the game and we don't celebrate Test cricket enough.
Talking of the future, I mean, Ben Stokes as England captain, his body is struggling a bit, isn't it? Even in this series, suffering that adductor injury on day 4 in Sydney. No one can ever question his commitment to England, and he says he wants to carry on. But in terms of his body, he's had knee, hamstring and shoulder injuries. Do you think this is the last time we've seen him play in the Ashes in Australia?
I think my criticism with Ben is his lion-hearted performances they kind of confuse the leadership opportunity that's at hand, because he kind of takes it all on his shoulders. You know, when you looked at the performances throughout the course of the summer, there wasn't a lot, or you didn't feel like, I'm not saying that this is absolutely what happened, but you didn't feel like there was a lot of performances that were necessarily coming to hand, you know, when it came to the overall match performance of the English cricket team. I mean, it took a very late charge to have someone like Bethel into the team. When you looked at the bowling attack, Tung didn't start, and I felt like he was probably their best bowler. But always you'd see Stokes trying to be over and above what he needed to be, because he didn't really have cast. They tried Potts, and that didn't work. And they don't have a frontline spinner. I was listening to Mark Taylor, and he was saying oftentimes, as a former cricketer, you veneer over the story because of the success or the lack of success, maybe. For example, you know, batting prowess on wickets that are rated okay wickets, like Perth was rated a okay wicket, but yet that test match was over in 2 days. And the same could be said also of the MCG. But is it just because the technical capacity of players is not there to actually sustain that kind of high level technical elements? But certainly, you know, Stokes right through this series found a way to almost overbowl himself, which sort of to me means that there's maybe not trust issues, but certainly from a performance point of view, couldn't really, you know, guarantee or shore up his bowling attack or batting attack in any given test match.
Nice to see you, Haydos. Steve Smith stepped up, led the side, is now the second highest run scorer behind Bradman in Ashes history. He's indicated that he probably may not play another Ashes series in Australia. What makes him special as a batsman, particularly in the Ashes?
Yeah, good question, Jim. And as always, mate, lovely to see you. I've spent a little bit of time in and around the traps of the broadcast suites, but yeah, born 36 years young and almost 37 years young, it is going to be a challenge for any of these players, you know, like at that age to reach the next Ashes series. And we do have an ageing team, don't we? That's the reality of it. Only Cameron Green, who came under the heat, you know, this summer, was the only person under 31, I think it was, or 30. You know, so we've got some really, you know, strong challenges ahead. But Stephen strategically is an excellent captain. I think you could really say that Pat Cummins would rely on that when he took the ball in hand as the captain of this country. Stephen does find a way to break down the play really nicely. He's a very good reader of play. Like anything of the greats of the game, their common denominator is that they were kind of one or maybe even 2 or 3 steps ahead of the match. And Stephen, from a preparation point of view, something that was coming under the challenge for England in this series, it actually came under the challenge, if you remember as well, Jim, you know, with Steve Smith himself having, you know, quite an extended period of time in New York where he's residing with his wife. And there was murmurs around the hutch of, oh, well, you know, he should come out and play at least those 4 first-class games, but he played a couple of them, right, and made hundreds in a pretty difficult conditions up at the Gabba too, was one of his first games. So he reads the conditions well, he pounces on opportunities to attack, and then he's able to go, right, well, now's the time where I need to be a little bit more subdued, and finds his rhythm and tempo in the match better than most.
Hey, Ross. Hi, this is Charu Sharma from Bangalore. Thanks so much for joining us. On a lighter vein, or a lighter note,
Yes.
you mentioned that Cameron Green was perhaps the only one who faced the heat. But let me tell you, when his IPL fee hits his account, he'll be pretty cool about everything.
Yeah, I mean, so many people have come to the IPL with huge price tags, and I think it does create its own heat, those sort of numbers that we saw. I mentioned Bo Webster, but in defence of Cameron Green, there's no doubt that he's got an X factor in and around the way that he goes about his cricket. He just didn't put it all together in this series, and he felt the heat, no doubt. And a player has to feel that heat. And then once they feel that heat, they overcome that heat. Then they become seasoned professionals and campaigners, and it'll stand him in great stead, this series, for the IPL, because the IPL has got its own threshold of pressure. But honestly, the Ashes series here, it buries a lot of people. You know, it makes a lot of athletes, but it buries a lot of people as well. So I think Cameron Grebe will stand himself in great stead for the IPL.
That is Matthew Hayden, former Australia Open and Ashes winner, with us on Stump to dissect all things Ashes.
From the BBC World Service, this is Stumped on Akashvani.
Now, the fourth edition of the Women's Premier League is upon us, and at a new time of year as well, so a chance to assess just how the teams are shaping up. Now, Mumbai Indians are looking to win their second title in a row and third in 4 years, but they'll be doing it with a new coach. Charlotte Edwards left the role after she was appointed head coach of the England women's team, and so the Australian and former England head coach Lisa Keightley has replaced her. Jim, that a good appointment in your view?
Yes. I mean, her massive experience coaching everywhere over a long period of time has got to bring some weight to this role in a very successful team. So I would have thought it's a natural. I'm sure it's going to work very well for this very impressive side. And she's got such an extraordinary record as a coach. They should be able to kick on with her in charge.
And Charu Harmanpreet Kaur will captain Mumbai for the fourth year running. And of course, she's fresh from captaining India to the 50-over World Cup trophy. How much do you think that will, boost her and her team?
Hugely, her personally for sure, because it's like a major monkey off her back, or off the back of all Indian women cricketers finally winning a World Cup. It just sort of emphasizes the fact that you were good enough, and now the world will know that you are good enough, best in the world. So personally, yes, it'll be a big boost for her, and she will carry that confidence and, more importantly, the word respect into the Mumbai Indians team. Already, of course, the Dawn, really, the senior most cricketer in Indian cricket. She is hugely respected by all, but that's a more limited, from a limited Indian perspective. Now, as we know, the WPL teams are international, and having won the World Cup, even the internationals who will be playing under her as such will just believe a lot more in her captaincy, will give her a lot more respect. She will command it now. She doesn't have to demand any respect at all after winning the World Cup. Of course, the only thing that she has to be a little careful about is that playing franchise cricket, there's a lot of franchise pressure. And of course, Mumbai Indians has been our winning team. And that's the only thing she has to be careful about, because the franchise will expect the Mumbai team to win every match. And they may go on to lose a few, God forbid. So that's just something she has to steer clear of. Just because she's captain and won the World Cup doesn't mean automatically that they win all matches. And she just has to keep her head about herself and talk to the team, should they go on to lose a couple of matches, that we can come back with a great unit.
And one big name who won't be there is the Australian all-rounder Elise Perry. She's pulled out for personal reasons, and she was RCB's leading run scorer last year and the fourth highest wicket taker. She's going to be missed, isn't she? Yeah, well, I can assure you that the Indian public particularly will miss Elise Perry hugely. But Ali, I have to ask you about the relevance of, or the importance of leagues such as the WPL. Of course, other countries started earlier and some still have to start. But South African all-rounder and Delhi Capitals player Marizanne Kapp said that on a personal level, her game has certainly grown because of franchise leagues such as the WPL, and she's, of course, a hot commodity elsewhere as well. And she's seen more youngsters come through because of them. So is there any doubt at all that these leagues, much as some might not like them, are huge hunting grounds for new players, and of course, that level of experience increases hugely? It's a massive opportunity, isn't it? I think the finances are a huge part, the WPL leading the way in terms of what's on offer. And my visit over to India in October, when we were there and speaking to Indian players and young girls who are getting a first opportunity at cricket, they can look up to these players, and their parents, more to the point, and parents in rural areas can see that there is a pathway and there is a valid reason why their daughters should play cricket, because it can earn them a living and earn good wages, and they can then encourage their daughters to do something they love. So from a broad-based point of bringing in players is that one thing. And then, certainly for players like Marizanne Kapp, rubbing shoulders with other high-caliber international players, it's that knowledge sharing, which has been happening in the men's game for a long, long period of time. And now the women, with both the WPL, but the WBBL as well, the Big Bash, and also the Women's 100 as well. It's very similar in terms of bringing the best of the best all together. So I do think that is all of those facets are hugely beneficial.
I think there are many more leagues still to come for the women, particularly also in other countries. Kapp also went on to suggest that Jemima Rodrigues should perhaps be the next captain of India. She certainly had a terrific World Cup. She's been up and down before that, had all sorts of problems. But what do you think of that move? Do you think she's in line? There are a couple of others too.
I'd imagine that Smriti Mandhana's name must be considered as a future as well. You know, right-hand player, if you like, right hand to the captain. Jemmy Rodrigues has certainly, her fame has shot up, hasn't it, in the wake of the World Cup. In that sense, you might say, leave her to do what she does. She's quite a free-spirited player, brings so much energy and sort of happiness to the team. But yeah, there's a little bit of time before that decision needs to be made. But I think certainly Smriti Mandhana as that senior player, senior pro should absolutely be, you know, big consideration. The World T20 is happening in England this summer, Jim, and when you look at the WPL, so many, you know, big international players playing in that, but also there'll be players who are sort of on the fringes of the national side as well, some who aren't perhaps quite yet in the starting 11, and the timing of this tournament is going to be quite important, isn't it, for players to then maybe stake a claim?
Definitely. I mean, it's the obvious way to get yourself into some sort of nick and stick your head up for selection, is to be performing in the best, I would say, well, alongside the WPL perhaps, but I think their WPL is going to another level, and that's where you need to be showing your best. And clearly from the players involved, it's going to become the financial prosperity, the theatre where you do your best. So if you do your best in the WPL, you'll be playing for your country in a World Cup, and I would have thought all those players would want to do that.
Well, that's all we've got time for on this week's Stumped for Akash Varney. Don't forget you can follow us on X. We're at BBCWS Sport and use the hashtag BBC Stumped. And check us out on YouTube as well. Go to BBC World Service on YouTube. My thanks to Charu Sharma, Jim Maxwell, and to all of you for listening. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Stumped is a BBC Sport production for the BBC World Service in association with ABC and Akashvani.